Bartholomew was a boy of 10, a mop of brown hair always askew. Thaddeus was a turkey, all puffed chest and nervous gobbles. An odd pair, some might say, but they were friends, inseparable. Bartholomew found Thaddeus as a scraggly chick, abandoned in the market. He smuggled him home, a tiny ball of fluff in his pocket. From then on, they were two peas in a pod. Bartholomew would share his apple cores and stolen cookies with Thaddeus. Thaddeus, in return, would follow Bartholomew like a feathery shadow, his gobbles a constant background score to their adventures. Mulberry Street was their kingdom. They knew every cobblestone, every shadowy corner, every stray cat. They chased pigeons in the park, Bartholomew tripping over his own feet, Thaddeus flapping his wings in a flurry of feathers. They snuck into the old movie theater, hiding in the back row, Bartholomew munching popcorn, Thaddeus pecking at stray kernels. They even tried fishing in the muddy canal, Bartholomew with a bent pin, and Thaddeus with enthusiastic, if unhelpful, splashes. Their days were filled with laughter and scrapes, shared secrets whispered under the setting sun. Bartholomew couldn't imagine his life without Thaddeus, his loyal, if slightly foolish, companion. One day, Bartholomew was chasing a runaway ball, Thaddeus waddling behind. They tumbled into a narrow alleyway, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and forgotten things. Bartholomew, distracted, didn't notice the man lurking in the shadows. The man was tall and thin, with eyes like a hawk. He snatched Bartholomew in a flash, clamping a hand over his mouth. Bartholomew struggled, fear turning his blood to ice. He looked for Thaddeus, his heart pounding. Thaddeus, for once, wasn't gobbling. He stood frozen, eyes wide with alarm, staring at the man holding Bartholomew captive. The alleyway seemed to shrink, the shadows pressing in. They were taken to a derelict building, its windows like empty eyes. The man locked Bartholomew in a dusty room, a single bare bulb casting eerie shadows. Bartholomew sat huddled in a corner, his stomach rumbling with hunger and fear. Days turned into nights. Bartholomew shivered in the cold, his only company the scuttling rats and his own fear. He called for Thaddeus, his voice hoarse, but only silence answered. He feared the worst, his heart heavy with the thought of his brave turkey. One day, he heard a familiar gobble outside the window. He rushed to the boarded-up opening, his heart leaping with hope. There, perched precariously on a broken pipe, was Thaddeus, looking thinner, feathers ruffled, but his eyes shining with determination. Section 5. Thaddeus's Choice. Thaddeus, with a desperate gobble, nudged something towards the window. It was a small, dead rat, its fur matted. Bartholomew recoiled at first, then understood. Thaddeus, his loyal friend, had been searching for him, bringing him the only food he could find. Tears welled up in Bartholomew's eyes. He was starving, his body weak. He knew what he had to do. With trembling hands, he took the rat from Thaddeus, his throat constricting with a sob. He ate slowly, each bite a testament to Thaddeus's love and sacrifice. He looked at his friend, perched on the pipe, watching him with worried eyes. Section 6. A bittersweet feast. The rat was surprisingly filling. It wouldn't be enough for both of them. Bartholomew knew that. He looked at Thaddeus, his heart breaking. He couldn't leave his friend, but he couldn't stay here, trapped. He had to get help. He looked around the room, his eyes falling on a loose floorboard. He pried it up, revealing a small space beneath. He knew what he had to do. He had to hide, and Thaddeus had to lead someone back to him. "Thaddeus," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You have to go get help. Hide, and then come back here. Can you do that, boy?" Section 7. Home again, heart heavy. Thaddeus seemed to understand. He let out a mournful gobble and hopped down from the pipe. Bartholomew watched him disappear into the maze of alleyways, a silent promise hanging in the air. Then, with a heavy heart, he crawled under the floorboards and waited. It was the longest night of his life. But just when he thought he could take no more, he heard a commotion above. Footsteps, shouting, and then the most beautiful sound in the world. Thaddeus's frantic gobbling. He was pulled out of his hiding place, blinking in the sunlight. His parents were there, their faces etched with relief and worry. And beside them, his feathers ruffled, his chest puffed out with pride, stood Thaddeus. Section 8. The empty coop. The man was caught, the nightmare finally over. Bartholomew was safe, showered with love and warm soup, but a shadow lingered over his joy. Thaddeus, his brave, selfless friend, was gone. They searched for him, but Thaddeus had vanished. Bartholomew refused to believe he was gone forever. He left a trail of corn kernels from his bedroom window to the coop, hoping against hope that his friend would reappear. Days turned into weeks. The coop remained stubbornly empty. Bartholomew couldn't bear to look at it, the silence deafening. He often sat by the window, staring at the alleyway where he had last seen Thaddeus, his heart aching with loss and gratitude. Section 9. A Hero's Legacy. Bartholomew never forgot Thaddeus. He told everyone about his turkey's bravery, how he had saved his life. He even wrote a story about their adventures, about their friendship and Thaddeus's ultimate sacrifice. Though Mulberry Street seemed a little less bright without Thaddeus's gobbles echoing through its lanes, his memory lived on. Bartholomew knew, deep in his heart, that true friends, even the feathered kind, were a gift, their love and loyalty a beacon in the darkest of times. And sometimes, when the moon hung low and the shadows grew long, Bartholomew could almost swear he heard a familiar gobble in the wind, a reminder of the extraordinary turkey who had taught him the true meaning of friendship, where shadows dance with light and words and melodies change and create reality, a juxtaposed duality resonating in harmony with words, music, and video forming a trinity of symphony.